Hello, friends and extended family. Um, I had a few thoughts this morning, and I also had a discussion on one of my other videos with someone who was a bit offended by some things I said, and I got a little bit persnickety with my response, but I tried to keep it civil, and I deleted some of the response because I thought it was a little bit too aggressive and maybe too backlashy. But first of all, what I normally do is I check the person out. And she had talked about her cello playing. And so I went and listened to her music, and it was beautiful. Um, that being said, she's an adoptee as well. So we had similar experiences, and I have to respect that. And I also recommended she watch some of my other videos to get a bit more contextualization about where I'm coming from and what led me to my opinions and views and beliefs. And ultimately, she didn't really say what exactly it was that offended her, but something to do with preferring to have been dead than adopted. And there's a lot of adoptees who feel that way, that the disconnection from family is extremely painful to them, and maybe they're more sensitive individuals, or maybe they're more connected to their um, feelings around that broken bond that we don't know exactly what it is. You know, you can't imperialize it, but if you lose your entire family in one day and you're conscious of it, it would be an extremely brutal experience. So just because you're not conscious of it, you're subconscious of an event that should cause those feelings. And at 3 years old, I wanted to go home. So what does that tell you? I packed my bags, and the adoptive parents laughed about it and thought it was funny. And I'm sure it is funny to see some 3-year-old kid packing up his bags to go out into the world completely serious because he can't. And I made it across the street in the snow and laid down with my blue blankie and cried because there was nowhere to go. So anyway, the thought I had this morning was about facts and how a fact in time doesn't tell you everything you need to know. So if I took a picture of me today, you can see I have hair. But from that picture, if you remove all context and a person who doesn't know what hair is, can you see that hair grows over time in that picture? No. So just like that, when we look at history and we're taught facts about history, are we taught about how people grew into those situations? Are we taught about the context that led to that, the growth that took place to come to that fact in history? No, we oftentimes are not. And something that was very surprising to me about the world. I was watching a video from someone in and I don't even know, maybe Yemen, Yugoslavia, somewhere. And there's been so many conflicts. And me personally, with my own problems and my own trying to keep my head above water, have not been able to pay much attention of those things. But eventually, when I hit the brick wall and I was forced out of society, and I had nothing to do but try to figure myself out, figure the world out, and spend a lot of time researching history, philosophy, psychology, uh, esoterics, mysticism, all kinds of things, trying to find answers for myself, about myself, and how to move forward in this world that's gone tipsy topsy turvy and seems to go against common sense at every possible occasion. That I started to understand a little better that we've been at war. And it's a war of ideologies, it's spiritual warfare, but it's going on all around us all the time. And by keeping us with these sort of uncontextualized facts of history and reality around us, and keeping us sort of in the dark about important matters, and keeping us arguing about opinions about things we don't necessarily have direct experience with, but that we're given. Well, you guys vote about things you couldn't possibly fully understand without the contextualization of the history of how we got here and why some of these facts took place and why some of these horrors in history happened and how we aren't the good guys in every scenario, nor our governing bodies, nor our other governing bodies, nor other religions, and our own religions. We all have our own crosses to bear. But within those groups and whatnot, yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that. I apologize. I lost my train of thought. But regardless, in being open to the conversation earlier today, I think we ended on a good note in that, I admitted to her that I enjoyed her music. It was very beautiful. So hopefully she will take the opportunity to watch a few of my other videos to better understand me, because I'm certainly not trying to offend anyone, and I'm certainly not trying to cast blame on the ignorant, although I am trying to get the ignorant to quit ignoring. Ignorant. I'm trying to get them to quit ignoring the hard realities and the unpleasant facts and how we've gotten to those places by ignoring other things. So, consciousness is important. And as we expand our consciousness, we become aware of things that are less than pleasant. And it can turn people away from looking, or it can send them into a born again status where they're terrified and everything is satanic or whatever religion they've been born again into. And I have been born again a few times. And I wouldn't necessarily say into Christianity, but into spirituality. And since I've never been initiated into Christianity, I was initiated into secular atheism. And I can tell you that it is as much a religion as anything else. They're a faith-based religion, and they require science to provide their doctrines. Now, people with huge amounts of money and influence and power can obviously buy the science and buy the results, and thus direct their populace tyrannically. And if you think that's a conspiracy theory, I would direct you to look at the trials about big tobacco and watch educated men, businessmen, lawyers, tycoons lie through their teeth in court about their product. In Canada, the government profit shared with big tobacco on its populace. A drug like tobacco has a massive profit margin, All you have to do is get people to try your product and they'll be lifelong consumers. Even with all the information we have about tobacco, it's still allowed to go on because it's so addictive that trying to ban it would simply send the price of it through the roof, because there will always be people willing to enslave others and bond others to a product that they can profiteer from and utilize for massive amounts of control. And we can see that all over. And not only that, you've got the medical industry and psychological industry seemingly in cahoots with this secular atheist religion, pushing highly dangerous drugs on people that are also highly addictive. And if people try to quit taking them on their own because they no longer maybe trust their doctor due to the potential effects, and I've seen people who are quite smart and kind and traumatized people go on these drugs, and I don't think they ever come back to normal. It terrifies me. It's like a chemical lobotomy. So, all that being said, we live in an extremely dangerous world. And I don't want to fearmonger at all. But I do want to recommend that if you're letting someone else decide right and wrong for you, well, you might have a better shot at flipping a coin. And that was another thing I wanted to share with you. A little revelation that came to me during my spiritual awakening and progress and work that I was doing. And it's combinations of things that end in a revelation. Certain things kind of bloop 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 click together, and then eventually form this understanding that sort of takes place that changes your perception of reality and changes your understanding of things. And what it happened to be was this sense of confusion that I was going through. Like I'll give you a quick example. Like I want to worship God. I want to find people to help me understand that better. And then I look at the church, and then I look, what do people say about the church? Well, priests molest little children. The church is evil. The church has killed millions of people. The church is bad, 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 bad. Well, that doesn't really line up with my idea of what I want to worship. And that becomes scary and confusing. Now, if there were people who hated the church, which I know there were, and this is understandings that came later on and whatnot, but what would you do? Utilizing subversion, Sun Tzu's flawless victory without any bloodshed, which is deception and espionage and whatnot, and subversion. Well, wouldn't you send a bunch of people in there to make the church look really bad? So, I mean, it's pretty simple to explain some things away. Or the church is just ultimately evil and they rape little boys. Or there's some other explanation. I don't claim to know everything, but I know that was a confusing thing for me when trying to understand which way to lean or which way to go. Not to mention, you see all the hypocrisy of people who call themselves Christians or Jews or Muslims or whatever, and then act completely against the precepts of that religion. And then you just see hypocrisy, and that turns you off. But back to my revelation. The revelation came from a few different things, but I was playing a video game and I was in a maze. And I'm not always the best at mazes and things like that. I get lost. And I did. I was lost in this maze. And my friend was watching me play. He said, just use the right hand method or the left hand method, whichever he had said. And it really doesn't matter which way you choose, but if you always take left turns, basically following that left wall consistently, you will eventually find your way out of the maze. Or if you alternatively took the right-hand path. Well, that can be applied to another maze, and that's the maze of altruism, of right and wrong, like what choices should you make, right? Now, if you go through life and you make choices, but you don't pay attention to the results, you just offhandedly, sometimes you make the right choice, sometimes you make the wrong choice. And you don't pay attention to how that affects you, or the fact that that right and wrong choice, with time and society changes. Right? So maybe you made the right choice when you were a kid and you made the same choice later as an adult, but now that's the wrong choice by society standards. Did right and wrong change? Did we get new information? Or is someone else choosing right and wrong for you? And are they choosing that for you for your benefit or their benefit? Is there an objective right and wrong? It really doesn't matter, any of those things. You are the person in the maze. You are the person who needs to find their way out of that maze. So you have a vested interest in discovering right and wrong for you and yourself. Because if you go ahead and make all the right choices, but you're off on something, you're not going to find your way out of the maze. You need to know the difference between right and wrong. So that was something that when it finally occurred to me, what is this infinite existence that seems to be persistent, that I cannot seem to escape? What is it? How did I get inside this form? Well, I could just wait till I die. But does that get me out of the maze? Who says consciousness ends at death? You can't take consciousness and say, oh, it's dead now. There it goes, leaving the body. There it goes, falling down on the ground. No. You don't know what happens to your consciousness when your body ceases to be. You don't even know that your body, objective, we see people die. Although we don't have the experience of dying, do we? Unless maybe you remember past lives or you're into something like that. And I'm not saying that's not true. I'm not saying there is no such thing as reincarnation. In fact, I think there is. But at the same token, we are in a web of confusion. And I think all you need to do is turn on the news to see that you're not alone in that. And if that be the case, then I guess we all need to really figure out our left from our right from our wrong, and start moving in that direction based on our proclivities. And and I hope we all find our way out of our confusion, and I hope we all find our way to a place that's right for us, regardless of what your right and wrong is. I want everyone to be able to enjoy themselves, as long as it doesn't cost someone else's their right to enjoy themselves. And that's it. So if we can agree to that, we could have a fair world. It's that simple, really. And as sad as it seems to be oftentimes the people with the most that see the least value in the most valuable things. And unfortunately, that attitude tends to trickle down to the rest of us, and we lose the things that we should value the most: our family, our friends, love, um, security. Maybe not security, but I mean, just basic life things that are so enjoyable when we are not under so much pressure and in so much confusion as to what the heck is going on. So, anyways, my little blab today, and hopefully my person that was offended, Dory, will stick around and you know um, engage with some of my other viewers and look at their comments and start to understand that sometimes pain is so much that death would have been preferable, and we understand that when we see a bird that's wounded beyond repair on the ground. I kill it if it's obviously beyond being nurtured back to health. I can't watch an animal suffer that's not going to recover. And I would suggest that being cut from your family is up there with one of the most horrendous pains, lifelong agonies that someone would have to be forced to endure, especially if put in a situation whereas they can't bond with other people and are forced to live in a manner that is unconducive to them becoming healthy and functional. So that's that.